Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Real Spill Sports Podcast. You know who I am, Big Nate, joined by, as always, Coach Taylor. Coach Taylor, what is going on, sir?
Hey, another day of life in the Sunshine State. Can't complain.
You down there in Florida, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have a guest today, a good friend of mine, good friend of ours. I've known this man probably 25 years. Another Detroit Piston fan.
There we
So
go.
him and Coach Taylor gonna have a lot to talk about this episode. But welcome my homie, Amaron Mathis. Amaron, what's going on, sir?
Hey, not much, man. Feeling good, feeling great. Appreciate being on the podcast today. Was actually pretty surprised that you invited me. I was like, man, let me go ahead and touch up on my skills and give the guys, you know what I'm saying, my perspective on today's sports topic. So glad to be on the podcast. It's been a long time coming. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming, sir. We're going to jump right into it. Conference finals last night, we had the Warriors take out Dallas, 120-110. Curry won the first Magic Johnson Western Conference Finals Player Award. Luka had 28 points on 28 shots, and they win 4-1 to advance to their sixth final in 8 years. First team to do that since the 90s Bulls. Coach Taylor, what were your takeaways from last night's game and just the series overall?
You know, obviously I like Luka, like everybody else. But, you know, Dallas has got to give him some help, man. You know, if you're going to – if today's NBA says we're going to build superstar teams, and as great as Luka is, he just won't be able to do it by himself. You know, similar to how Giannis was a couple years ago until they got those pieces with Holiday and stuff to give him that extra balance that he needed. And so Dallas is going to have to address and do something. You know, the problem with Dallas is it's a double-edged sword because Luka's so good that he can win you 50 games, which takes you out of the lottery, which almost takes you out of a situation where you can really get an impact, you know what I mean, player. So you have to do it through free agency some kind of way. But then you hear on the flip side, he's really difficult to get along with for some people, you know. And Dallas has either got to find a way to make him more of a compatible to another co-star, or they got to find a way to maybe lose enough games to get in that top 6, top 7 to grab a dude that could, you know, be an impact guy for him on the cheap. Going back to the Warriors, I've said all along since the season started that, you know, this is the Warriors window and this is what it is. And they're on a mission. They understand that. You can clearly see the decline in Draymond's game. You can clearly see it, right? Like he used to be able to give you triple doubles, and like last night I expected triple double out of him. He was good in those big closeout games to give you triple doubles, you know, 4 or 5 years ago. But he's had to play a couple years without Clay and or Steph, and it's just been taxing on him. And their window is now, and they brought this team to win. They're grooming Jordan Poole to probably take over for Clay, and I do believe that at some point Kuminga will take over for Draymond when they feel a little more comfortable with him down the road. But the Warriors window is now. I've said all along since the season started, I expect them to win the title, and I still hold to that. I really do.
And go ahead and hit that topic there.
I basically agree with Cole. Right now, I feel like regardless of who the Warriors got to play against, whether it's going to be the Celtics or Miami, which at this point I think is going to be the Celtics, Warriors is going to win in 6, possibly even 5. And I know that might sound even ludicrous, but I feel like at this point, the Warriors is just they're a whole different squad. They got between 1 through 5, well, not necessarily they're 5, but 1 through 4, I just feel like they're still unstoppable. And that depth lineup, I just don't see Miami or Boston being able to keep up with it on the offensive side. Because if you even watch, and I know we're supposed to be talking more about the Dallas and Warriors side, but if you watch the Eastern Conference Finals, they both cannot buy a bucket. Like, this is some of the most disastrous offense that I've ever seen. And maybe that's just because both teams are putting the clamps on each other, but I just don't imagine Boston or the Heat putting the clamps on the Warriors offense. I just don't see it. Their time is now. And I feel like, again, regardless who they play against, it's going to be Warriors in 6. Really can be Warriors in 5, to be completely transparent, in my opinion. When it comes to Dallas, they got to get help. Luka is like a super duper star, but he's really playing with just a whole bunch of, I don't like to be disrespectful, but the majority of the team is really looking like some FedEx workers, to be honest with you. Then you got Luka. So it's even surprising to me that they even got this far. I don't know if that's just a credit to Luka himself. Maybe that's a credit to Jason Kidd. I'm not sure, but they don't have enough talent at all. They definitely got to do something in the offseason. But like how Cole said, Luka's really hard to work with for whatever reason. It feels like when they lose, you can see a lot of temperament that comes out of Luka, and that's just what you see on camera. So what you see on camera could be even more just disrespect, you know what I'm saying, or whatever reason, for maybe reasons why other players don't want to work with him or whatever reason. But there definitely needs to be something done. I like Jalen Brunson, but if that's like going to be your co-star, that's not going to get it done. You know what I mean? So Dallas definitely has to address a lot of things, especially in the front court. I don't like their front court at all. But we'll see what they do. But again, I feel like the Mavericks also have a tough time just getting really free agents there in the get-go. I don't really remember the last time like a really solid free agent went to Dallas. And that's really weird to me.
To touch on what you're saying with Dallas, they rely too much on guys that you can't rely on. Like when you got, and granted, they're missing Tim Hardaway Jr., who is a big part of what they do offensively. He's another guy who can hit you for 30, which anytime you missing a guy like that, that's big. But when you're relying on Reggie Bullock, who's never been nothing but a role player, and Dorian Finney-Smith, who's more so a defender, and then you're bringing Bertans, and you got to hope he gets hot, and then Kleber, you got to hope he gets hot. They have no inside presence to dump the ball in occasionally to keep the defense honest. So you know what's going to happen. It's either going to be dribble penetration or it's threes. You know what I'm saying? They don't have no guy that other than Luka, where he gets a smaller guy on him, like he can post them up. They have no guy on the inside. So I'll kind of speak on a move I think they might make this offseason when we speak on free agency. But they definitely got to make a move because I don't think they have enough. As far as Golden State, you know, when all four of them guys are on point, and I'm speaking the main three, and then Poole, and then you got Wiggins who can do what he does, and then Kevon Looney out of nowhere, you know, he had 18 rebounds last night. I want to say he had 20-something in another game. Like, he's playing to a level that I haven't seen him play, you know, and I think a lot of people think when you think of Kevon Looney, you think he's old. He's only like 25 years old. He's still young and can really play. So they're going to be hard to beat. I think to touch on the other end, as far as Boston and Miami, I look for Boston to take that because I got some numbers. Okay, you got games 4 and 5, Lowry and Strus have combined to go 1 for 28. That's just
the worst in NBA history type numbers.
That's their starting backcourt that has combined for 1 for 28 games 4 and 5. You had Jimmy Butler, who scored 70 points combined in games 1 and 2, has combined for 27 points in games 3, 4, and 5. And then you have, you know, Lowry, who's out there who clearly looks hurt. Jimmy is probably hurt too, but he's not going to say anything. And to speak to Boston, Boston is so dangerous because defensively, they don't have to double you. They just switch everything. They got 5 guys on the court that they can switch and that can cover you on a one-on-one basis, which is very problematic. And I think if they do it, you know, I think everybody's predicted at this point it'll be Boston and Golden State. I think if they get there, it's going to be, you can either see a dynasty reclaiming its grip, or you might see the changing of the guard. Because I think Boston is that good defensively, and then they're long, and then you got Tatum and all them cats. Like, and then also in the same sense, you got the defensive player of the year who's going to cover Curry. So this is like a defining moment for Curry in this finals, where if he can get a finals MVP, put in work, and then you had, you know, the defensive player of the year checking you all series, you could see something there.
Well, you know, the funny thing is Curry in the finals, a lot of times he be more missed than he do make. And the people in the guards that his opposing guards, a lot of times weren't even defensive-minded players, like Kyrie Irving, for instance. So it'll be interesting to see him act up versus the defensive player of the year. You know what I mean? And they got Jaylen Brown as well, who's going to lock you up. And if they need to throw, like you said, Jason Tatum or even Derek White, he's a defensive nightmare too in this sense.
Derek White,
so they got
Grant Williams, Al
Yeah.
Horford, and Robert. All them cats can all off a pick and roll can keep a man in front of them, where they don't necessarily have to go in W. Coach, what do you think of that East finals over there?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much over for Miami. They ran out of gas and guys started getting hurt. But like I said, like I told you, probably after the All-Star break, the $90 million that they gave Lowry, he has not been a $90 million player all season. He's looked atrocious even before he got hurt. I mean, averaging 12 points a game, that is not the Toronto Lowry that they signed and paid for. Right? You know what I mean? They could have just kept Dragic. At least with Dragic, you're going to get a solid 15, 16 a night. And you know what I mean? He's going to take some hard fouls, but they were quick to move on from him. He was quick to move on from them. And, he wanted to go somewhere else. And Lowry's just been atrocious to me all season. So I don't want to hear it's the injury because he's been horrible all season. And so that really is the problem for you. Like your starting point guard can't be that bad all season, and then you think that he's going to walk into the playoffs when basketball tightens up and things matter. He's just going to flip the light switch. It just doesn't work like that. Now, I mean, me and Laura are like the same age.
Yeah,
that'd be like asking me to get off this podcast and then go play in tomorrow's game. I'm not going to go out there and do nothing spectacular. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. And that's what he's fought these issues all season. And now you can see why Toronto had no problem, essentially moving off from him because they were able to recognize that, he's a guy that's at the end of his rope and he's on the decline. We don't need to, throw big money into guys on the decline because I think too many people in sports get emotional when they're signing players and they're worried about what a player used to be. And it's like Bill Belichick said it best. This is a what if you don't relate type of game. So your laurels don't mean shit to me when you walk through that door. I need to know what I think you're going to do tomorrow, and I'm going to pay you based on that, not what you did 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, because that don't mean nothing.
What's crazy is you look at between Kyle Lowry and Duncan Robinson. I want to say they're paying
$180 million.
$180 million for no production in the playoffs.
None. I wouldn't even pick those two in my local pickup game. I wouldn't take those two guys first.
Like that is a shit ton of bread to get no production. Like you look at what that's a damn near a max player between the two of them that you can get at that price for $180 million and then you still got to pay Tyler Hero, you got to pay Max Strus, you got to pay this Vincent guy, and you just dumped all that money into those two guys over the next. Well, I think Duncan Robinson got a 5 for 90, and then Lowry got a 3
for 90
or 90, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So for the next 3 years, that's a lot of money that's got to be on that roster that they can't do a whole lot with. But so we're all in agreement that we think it's going to be Boston closes them out tonight, or does it go 7?
No, Boston closes them out.
Closes them out.
Miami's done, man. They're done.
Okay. All right, free agency. Obviously, there's a lot of rumors going around in free agency as far as the main guy, Zach LaVine, which I feel one way about that, but never mind that. What are some moves? Because there's a lot of teams out there. Well, not a lot of teams, but there's a few teams out there where you could maybe see them blowing it up, like Utah. You know what I'm saying? Utah is in an interesting spot. You look at a team like Indiana that still got some pieces, what they might do. Washington, because you've got guys like Bradley Beal who can opt out. Russ, I mean, I don't see him opting out, but because he's owed $47 million next year, but he can opt out and pursue a new contract if he wanted to, which I highly doubt he does. What are some predictions or some shit that you'd like to see in free agency play out? Em, I'll start with you.
I want Bradley Beal to get out of there, but I just read something last night, matter of fact, and it said that Bradley Beal wants to re-sign with the Wizards again. Now, that doesn't mean that he's going to get his bread because, the Wizards are the ones that offer him the max money and then want to get out of there. but he keeps reiterating that he loves DC for whatever reason. And I love Bradley Beal. So I want to be able to see him actually compete because the Wizards have been a mess since damn near the Bullet days, you know? So there's not going to be any type of consistency over there, any sort of time, anytime soon. So get him out of there. But again, if he wants to be there, he wants to be there. To retouch up on Dallas, again, they need a center really bad. And from what I'm hearing is DeAndre Ayton and the Suns, they might part ways. The front office is really not feeling DeAndre Ayton for whatever reason. And so I don't know if the Dallas Mavericks have enough salary cap room or they can work some sort of a sign and trade deal. But I would like to see DeAndre Ayton either for Dallas or honestly, my bias way, either a Pistons somehow. Because I know the Pistons could throw max money and we do need a center desperately. So I would love to have DeAndre Ayton, and he's not even like the greatest of the great to me. But at this point, we have what? Luka Garza, Kelly Olynyk, and Isaiah Stewart. So yeah, DeAndre Ayton will be a phenomenal move for us. But do I see it happening? Maybe, especially if the rumors are true about the Suns are willing to let him go. After that Game 7 performance, I want to pay that man max money. They played him 17 minutes. I think it was either Shaq or Barkley that said that when they found out that Aiden or Dwight Powell was guarding Aiden, he should have been offended. He should have been instant barbecue chicken. He should have put up damn near 60 on the Game 7. So the fact he didn't do that, the Suns is probably like, I'm not sure, if we want to give him a max contract. And that's the reason why I don't like him. I don't know if he just doesn't have that dog in him. I don't know if he just gave up. I don't know. But in big moments, and especially if you want that big time pay, you got to show up. But I would like to have him. Obviously, like you said, when it comes to Russell Westbrook, he's going to opt in. I keep seeing rumors about the whole John Wall and Russell Westbrook trade. I don't see why the Rockets would do that. But you already know Laker Nation will always come up with the craziest, wildest trade stuff. But the Lakers have to do something. They have to do something. But maybe they need to trade AD for somebody.
Coach Taylor, I saw you making some faces when Am mentioned DeAndre Ayton as a Piston. You obviously have an issue with that potential move there.
I'd like to preface this comment with saying Am is my boy, and at one point all three of us lived together, so I got nothing but love and respect for both of y'all. But Am, you got to put the smoke down, my friend. Let me tell you something. The least translatable skill in the NBA from college is post scoring, unless you're just a generational guy at creating it. Embiid, Jokic, and Ayton is not. So if you take Ayton, you're setting your team back, and that's what's happening. You don't need the Ayton type of center anymore. What you need is 5 guys on the floor who can defend, pass, and shoot the basketball. Not a guy who's overly big, that's operating in a low block area, and needs a guy like Chris Paul, some elite creator, to create buckets for him, right? And that's why the Suns set him down in the game, because they
hold on to argue to fight back with that. Ayton was putting up 20 a game prior to Chris Paul ever getting there.
Sure, they were a bad team.
He's a little more capable. I definitely understand what you're saying, because I think that's part of the reason why they don't want to resign him, because he's not a outside shooter like guys max money to do now in the game. So I get where you're coming from, and he's not elite defensively where you can hang your hat and say, okay, we're going to give him max money because he changes the game defensively. So I get what you're saying, but he's a
little bit better than Isaiah Stewart. But why would you pay him all that money to be a little bit better than Isaiah Stewart? You got Isaiah on a rookie deal. Then when you re-up Isaiah, he's not going to be asking nowhere near max money. He's happy with his role. He loves being an enforcer. I mean, he tried to take LeBron's head off a season ago. He's happy being an enforcer, so I got mad respect for him for that. I just think that if you're going to, in today's NBA at that 5 spot, you better get your dude that's got a lot of skill, man. That's all I'm going to say. You better get your dude that's got a lot of skill, or you better go get you a 4 who has no problem sliding to the 5. Because you get these kids that have been able to just catch it on the block their whole career and just be bigger than everybody and operate, that shit is over with. Because as soon as we push their ass out 15, 25 feet, what can you do now, big boy? And if you can't do a damn thing, you're barbecue chicken, you're screwed. So I love how Shaq talks about what he would do and what he wouldn't do. But in today's NBA, Shaq really wouldn't do anything, to be honest with you, because if he's not that close to the bucket, he has no effect on the game. And as soon as you bring him out in the P&R, too far from the bucket, and he's got to move his feet laterally, he's cooked, man. Like, let's keep it real. Today's NBA, and this is why I keep saying that Trae Young and Steph Curry are better than John Morant, because today's NBA requires shooting at a high level. And when you got guys that need to be dump the ball on the block or be attacking the rim and always dunking on somebody, that is not a sustainable way of winning. That is not a sustainable way of winning. That's why Ja keeps getting hurt. It's not a sustainable way of winning. I know I'm drifting here, but I'm so sick of hearing about DeAndre Ayton and all these other guys that need you to create offense for them and dump it to them. And they want one-on-one situations, and Shaq's telling you what he would have did. It's like, that's irrelevant, because the game has changed so much now that if I put 5 shooters on the floor, we're going to blow the Lakers out anyway, just like the Pistons did. They beat them in 5 with 5 guys who spaced the floor. So, I mean, it's irrelevant. It's just irrelevant. You know, Shaq didn't barbecue chicken Ben Wallace when we played them. So what is he talking about? What is he talking about? He ain't barbecue him. So, I mean, and that was when the day valued that type of big man. Today's NBA doesn't value that type of guy. That's why Giannis, Embiid, Jokic, those guys are generational talents. And so if you're going to sign a guy at that spot, he better be a generational talent. Now, AD had a chance, but AD got no heart, and he gets hurt every single week just looking at the basketball floor. So you got to decide, okay, what do you do with him, right? Cat at one point had all the skills and talent, but his heart was questionable at different times, you know? And so it's like, it's almost like, you know, you're waiting to find that next guy, but those guys are few and far between, man. They're few and far between. And 2 of the 3 guys I mentioned are foreign guys. So maybe the NBA knows what they're doing, and you want to get you a true elite game-changing guy, you got to go overseas to get him, because the kids in America, for whatever reason, refuse to be a skilled 5-man. They want to be all 5 or even all skilled. They don't want to be a mix of the 2, and they don't want to get their hands dirty.
Well, I think, like you said, you've got maybe what, as far as offensively, 4 true, like Vucevic, like, okay, we got Vucevic, who is great offensively, can shoot threes, can shoot anywhere on the floor, but then defensively is lagging. So then that's the problem. So now they're talking about, well, you got to get rid of Vucevic. Well, I don't think that's the problem. You got to put somebody adequately behind Vucevic defensively that can help him out. Where, like I said, with Ayton, I don't think he's necessarily broken this NBA, because he can shoot. He just don't, with that offense, he gets, you know, CP3 ain't never had a point guard a center that was a stretch guy. You know, he's always a rim runner for CP3, right, where, you know, he's dumping in dishes. So I think he has a little more, I think Ayton has a little more talent offensively than maybe you're giving him credit for, because I've seen him shoot and he can shoot. It wasn't necessarily out to the 3-point line, but that's also a thing that you can fix. Brook Lopez, when he got into the NBA, was your traditional back to the basket center. And now all that motherfucker does is shoot 3. So it can be worked on. And I think he can stretch the floor further enough, you know, free throw line extended to, you know, bring a center out. But
it's more than just shooting, though. Today's NBA, when I look at the 5 spot, when I'm looking, the guys who make play, the guys I want to see a guy grab the rebound, take it 94 feet, break a guy down.
I get you, but you also have to be
all of those skills encompassed.
But you also have to be realistic in those. You don't get all those guys every day. Everybody don't have that. You gotta take what you can get.
I understand. And right now we have Isaiah Stewart, so just stick with that. It's a cheaper option, and it won't let you down. You sign a guy like Ayton to big money, similar to when we signed Drummond and some other guys and Blake Griffin, it's going to let you down, because the play will never match up to the dollars, and then the fan base and the wins don't come, and so everybody gets impatient. You know what I mean? And so it's like, because I'm speaking for Detroit, because Am and I are both Detroit fans. It just, to me, it just doesn't make sense. Like, if we're going to pay a guy max money at any position, he better be the best motherfucking thing in the Central Division at that fucking position, or else we don't need him. We can just stay losing and stay young. He better be the best thing at his position in the Central Division, or we don't need that guy.
So you don't think DeAndre Ayton can go to the center division and not be the best center if you break all the centers down? Because the first center I think about is Evan Mobley, who's going to be a problem. But other than that, I don't see no other centers right off bat that DeAndre Ayton could really compete against.
Okay, you got to realize this, though. He comes to the Central Division.
Vucevic is better than Ayton.
He
But
comes
he's
to
also on the decline.
That's true. He's older. That's true.
Versus going up.
think about this though, Am. He comes to the Central Division, right?
Yeah.
He's gonna have to get matched up with Giannis at some point. There's just no getting around it. Offensively and defensively, they're gonna guard each other.
Right.
And I'm afraid that Giannis would take him right out of his fucking game offensively. And I'm afraid that I know for a fact he ain't staying in front of Giannis when Giannis does all that bully ball, whatever he wants to do. I mean, he gonna get exposed. And all of a sudden you're gonna be having $100 million guy that's in his he was in his feelings in Phoenix. He definitely gonna be in his feelings in the D because people in the D not gonna play.
Gotta look at the landscape of the NBA. I think damn near every team is gonna have $100 million guy that's gonna be disappointing just no matter
I'm only speaking on our team, and that's why I think for us to give somebody max money because of how you're trying to build around Cade, build around Sadiq, it has to make sense. I don't think you just give it because you got to. It has to make sense when you got a young team that's still trying to find its way.
I would look at it this way too, because considering the amount of cap space that you're gonna have, you're gonna overpay somebody. I
would really like to see Utah move on from Rudy and us go.
I'd
rather give Rudy Gobert max money.
No, yeah, he's already getting that, and that's what I was just about to say. I think one of those two is going to be gone. And I was going to ask y'all if you were running Utah, would you keep Rudy or would you keep Donovan Mitchell?
I think I was running Utah. Answer. Oh, go ahead, Cole.
I would if I was running Utah, I would keep Rudy just because I think it's easier to keep a foreign black man in Utah than it is an American black man in Utah. I think American black men want to get the hell out of Utah at some point. I'm just gonna be real with you. I've driven through Utah and they got some cool landmarks and all that, but it's like, yeah, let's get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? It's like as a black man in America, there's the Klan and then there's Utah. They're like right there, depending on where you come. If you're in the South, it's the Klan you're worried about. If you're out west, it's Utah and the Mormons. So it's like, yeah, let's get the hell out of here. Period. So I would try to say who is going to be less of a political nightmare for me. You know what I mean? And who could be less of a stick body? It's obviously Rudy, right? Like Rudy is, he's a foreigner. He can get along anywhere. He's, you know what I mean? He's been there longer. He's more adapted. But you can just see the frustration in Mitchell's tone, his play. Even when Shaq told him on, national TV, and I don't think he'll be good. He don't got it. Okay, well, thank you. You know what I mean? Like you could just see, like, he wants the hell out of Utah, man, because it's Utah. And I'll tell you something. If I was Miami, that's the guy I would get because he's got a lot of D-Wade-esque. And if I was Pat Riley, I would bring that man to Miami and I would figure out who Lowry, Shooter, whatever the fuck I got to get rid of, get it over there to Utah because you can send Strus and what's the boy that came in with shots? Duncan Robinson. No, they look like Utah guys, right? So this is a win-win for both organizations. It really is. Like, send those guys over to make the money work. Get Mitchell over there. Mitchell, Butler, Bam. That looks like a classic Miami. We here to do some damage. This is a nigga type team. Okay, that's what that is. Send Duncan Robinson, Strus, and Hero. Send them guys over to Utah and let them ball out and let them look like
Hero definitely ain't lasting in Utah.
He got the complexion for the protection. Is all I'm saying. So they'll accept him, and he'll be a star over there. He'll be a star over there because of how he plays and what he really, when you look at him, right? Because when they drafted Grayson Allen, they thought they was getting that type of player. But Grayson's just a fucking dickhead, right? And his skill level doesn't match up, okay? But now you got Hero. You can build around Hero in Utah. And that's appealing to the fans. And the Mormons love basketball. And so they got one of their own, right? From the look standpoint. And he got some swag with him, and he coming down doing his thing. And Hero gets to be the first option. Hero gonna like that, man. Hero will like that. I know he will. That nigga from Wisconsin. Calm down. He ain't Wisconsin, Utah, same damn shit.
And who would you build around? Would you keep Donovan Mitchell? Would you keep Rudy?
Honestly, the reason why I said Cole go first because I was going to say Rudy for the same reason because Donovan Mitchell, he looked like he'd been wanting to get the hell out of Utah, and especially wasn't there an incident to where they was messing with his family or something like that? Like in the crowd one day, I think there was an incident to where Utah fans did something to his family member, and that's
they
when
do something to a bunch of families in Utah.
That's what I'm saying.
That's true. That is true. And so I just don't think that even if they wanted to build around Donovan don't want to be built around Utah because it's freaking Utah. It's a fact. You know what I'm saying? So
I think you could probably get more for Donovan than you can Rudy too. And I also think with Rudy, what Rudy brings consistently on the floor, you know, he's a 3-time defensive player of the year. Like that might be, I mean, and I'm not slighting Donovan Mitchell, but you know what I'm saying? He plays no defense and he gets you 25. You know what I'm saying? Like you can like say you sent them to New York and you got Julius Randle and maybe, I don't know, Fournier or some shit like that. Now, when you
Julius Randle in Utah?
Can I finish what I'm saying, please? If you send him to New York and Julius Randle puts up 20, but now you got Big Rudy Gobert to back him up defensively. Rudy Gobert is a different league than Mitchell Robinson. You got that. You bring shooting around that. You replace your scoring. You got your defense, and you get deeper. Because I think the problem is that Utah has one guy on the floor in Donovan Mitchell who can get his own shot. That's it. If you get another guy out of New York, I don't know, maybe it's Fournier or, you know, Quickly or whatever it is, because New York is dying for a star like Mitchell, and I think Utah needs some more depth. And if you're throwing Randle in there because that's the money. You got to make the money work. Donovan Mitchell's getting paid damn near $40 million. Julius Randle is a high contract, so you got to make the money work. So that's the first guy that you look to if you go to New York and say, okay, we're going to give you Julius Randle, a young guy, maybe Obi Toppin or some shit like that, and some picks for Donovan Mitchell. Now you can build around that, and now you might get the same production as far as scoring, but you get deeper and maybe a little better defensively. So I don't know. Like I said, I would probably build around Rudy too and send Mitchell out because I think you can get more from Mitchell. Another thing I was going to say, with Dallas, here's a move that I think could happen. If Bradley Beal was to opt out, that's a person they should look at and send and do, you know, maybe a signing trade, because I think Brunson is going to get a big payday.
Yeah.
Washington needs a point guard. Washington got a lot of guards and forwards, and Hachimura and Kispert and Denny Avdia, and then they got bigs, and they just did a deal with Porzingis and all that. So I think if he would have opted out, you can maybe see some type of signing trade. I think Dallas is going to go big game hunting this offseason. I think they're going to try to. Mark Cuban sees how close he is and sees what he's missing, and I think they're going to try and go and land a big fish to pair with Luka. Now, like y'all said, you know what I'm saying, he's shown himself to be a little more difficult, and I actually like Washington's roster. They got a lot of pieces, and I think that Porzingis trade was beneficial to both parties. I think Porzingis fits there in Washington, and, you know, with Kuzma, and then they got KCP. And the Bills stayed there, I think they could be a playoff team next year if they're healthy. But I think Dallas is going to go looking for a big time player. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, me too. I feel like they're going to push their chips in at this point. I mean, there was one round away from being in the damn finals, so why not just go all in at this point? You know?
Right.
I think the smart thing for Dallas is to go get Julius Randle. He's disgruntled in New York. He's a Dallas kid. I think that's the smartest thing they could do is go get Julius Randle. Julius Randle in Utah would be a nightmare for Utah. They'd have to get rid of him 2 days after he got there. If he's unhappy in New York, I know he'll be unhappy in Utah. I mean, he's a Dallas kid. He's a Texas guy through and through. And I think he's made it clear he wants out of New York. I think New York has made it clear they want to move on from him. And if they could have found a way to make the Zion thing work, they would have, but they couldn't. And now Zion is, forced to stay in New Orleans because they made this miraculous playoff run. Shout out to Willie Green. I think Dallas has to go get Julius Randle. They need something up front. They need a little nasty. And he's used to, he's okay being a co-star, right? He don't have to be the guy. He can be a co-star. That, he kind of came in this league and that was his, forte. So I think it's a natural fit for them. And he gives them enough nasty up front. It's not going to take no shit from nobody up front. You know what I mean? And it still doesn't take away from what Luka does. Doesn't take away from what Tim Hardaway does. And
Kid has shown that he can get, I think Kid can maybe get a little more out of him than Thibodeau. Where Thibodeau gets a lot out of his guys, but then he pisses them off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where a kid can get it out of you and then also is more of a player's coach than, than Tibbs is. All right, to the draft. First off, y'all got any draft sleepers? Guys maybe that aren't being talked about, but when the draft comes, don't be surprised if you see them in the first round type catch. Obviously, there's a lot of people that we know the names, right? But who are some guys that maybe you people might not know that you might be high on?
I'll give you two guys, both from the mid-major levels. Jamal Bouye, the kid out of San Francisco, that hit Murray State for 35 in the tournament. I think he's 6'2", 6'3", buck 95, has excellent range, out to 25 feet consistently. Played in the West Coast Conference against Gonzaga all 4 years. He got San Francisco to the tournament. He's a walking bucket. I mean, he gave Murray State 35 and took it to overtime, took it down to the wire. Unfortunately, have enough in the tank. I think he's going to be a really, really good player in the league. And when you look at that, when Murray State had that rung of Isaiah and Cam Payne, like he's better than both those guys. He's better than both those guys right now. And I'm going to give you another one that people aren't talking about. Ryan Roblins out of Toledo. He's a Detroit kid, 6'2", a buck 75. Long arms, can really shoot it. Reminds me of CJ McCollum. I mean, he's a sophomore. He can really, really play. Was all MAC this year, was on the rookie team and rookie of the year last year in the MAC. And like I said, just a sophomore. He's 19 years old out of Detroit. People aren't talking enough about him, man. He played on the family. He got hurt his senior year, so he didn't get to go out on the circuit his senior year because he was hurt, nursing an injury, get healthy for his senior high school season. So he had to go to Toledo, right? He didn't have the Power 5 offers, but he can really, really play. And I think he's going to be in the league a long time for somebody because he fits what today's NBA is. He's got length, he's got shooting, and he just has a certain savvy and a certain smoothness to his game, right? He doesn't play with emotions. He just plays. And he's 19, and the NBA loves youth.
Yeah, you got it, guys?
I have to defer this question to you two because the only people that I studied so far, kind of the top of the top, is going to be completely transparent.
All right, I had a few. I had Jalen Williams out of Santa Clara, 6'6", 195 pounds, 7'2" wingspan. When I watch him, he kind of reminds me of a slightly smaller Paul George. He's real smooth, can shoot it at all levels, handle the ball, really good pass route or pick and roll. I was really impressed with guys. Nice athleticism. Like I said, when you're that 6'6" and then got a 7+ wingspan and can do a little bit of everything, you're usually pretty effective at the next level. And he averaged 18 points a game at Santa Clara. Shot what did he shoot from three this year? I had it 39% from three this year. So and has bumped his scoring up every year from freshman to sophomore to junior. And then he had a real good showing at the combine. So I think he's somebody you should keep your eye on, maybe in that mid first round, late first round that nobody's talking about. Another guy that I like is Taquerian Smith out of NC State, 6'4", kind of light at 160 pounds, but he's got a long frame, really, really deep range, can take you off the dribble, get there and dunk on you, likes to dunk with his left hand a lot, has a real nice float package. He gets to the lane, uses the floater real nice. Like you would say, kind of similar to the Bouye cat where the range is really, really deep. And that's, today's NBA kind of reminds me like how Bones Highland came in the league this year, kind of similar to that. So watch out for him. And then there's a foreign guy that I like. His name is Hugo Busan. And he's about 6'4". He's one of them foreign cats that's got a street handle and just confident, pulling from everywhere. Just is a really good three-point shooter. He had went from France to New Zealand this year, like he played in that league that LaMelo played in. Struggled a little bit with his shot this year, but I think he has all the tools that'll translate to the NBA where you might see him in the first round, early second. Since we're talking about the draft, like I said, we're going to go to the Pistons. Obviously, you guys have the 4th pick. You had the 1st pick last year, had Cade, who, by my estimations, he looks like he's one of them guys. Like, I think he's going to be really, really good in the league. You got building pieces. Like I said, you got Saddiq Bey. I like Saddiq Bey. I really like Saddiq Bey. I like Stewart. Like I said, I don't think Stewart's a starting center, but I think he's a really good backup center. Hell, I like Kelly Olynyk, and I like a lot of the pieces you have. But seeing that you guys are both Piston fans, and Coach Taylor, we've talked about it a little bit on here. And what are you looking for as far as at 4? Like what would you,
with the fifth
Fifth,
pick.
Fifth pick. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Sacramento's got 4.
I'm sorry. Yeah, they jumped y'all. Who do you like, or ideally, who would you like to see them take at 5?
Shaden Sharp. That's who I want. I know the consistent pick, and a lot of people want us to either take Keegan Murray or Jaden Ivey. And that's cool, and I would be happy with either or. But I just like the tools that this man has. When I was researching, looking more about it, that man has like a 49-inch vertical. His jump shot is sweet. Like, just his form itself, like, that man could pull up from anywhere. I feel like, again, the very, very limited video footage because he's barely even played, but that's fine. I mean, this is the NBA, so he'll be able to be around the greatest coaches. They'll be able to fine-tune his game. But he really reminds me of like a Bradley Beal type, almost like a Devin Booker in the sense that that's his ceiling to me, just based off the information that I read and what I see. Now he's built, he's lengthy, that man could dribble, he could dunk, he's athletic beyond reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, the only thing I'm really concerned about is defense, but that's okay. We need scoring and we need shooting bad, like bad. We're a very young team, so it'll give us time for him to develop. That's why I'm not really interested in Keegan Murray, because he's already 22, and I know that he's a great fit. And honestly, if I have my Troy Weaver hat, Keegan Murray is a Troy Weaver type of person. So I could see us going that direction. Like, I could really see it. But I really hope that we end up getting Shaden Sharp if he's available. Because I could also see the Kings going that direction, even though I think it's kind of dumb because they just traded Tyler Halliburton. So it's like, all right, so why would you guys grab another guard? But that man really does have all of the tools. I like his game. I love his game. I really feel like we should draft him, but that's me personally. I would wish to see him play against somebody other than the few footage that's out there. But at this point, it's like, you know what? There's so many different international players I've never seen footage of, and they come in the league balling. So I'm like, you know what? That man has the tools. He looks like a hooper. He was already number 1 rated in the country before in high school. And I know that doesn't always translate to the NBA, but most Kentucky players, and I know I'm a Kentucky, fan, so I might be biased, but most Kentucky players that go into the league, they end up being hoopers anyway. So I like that. Like I said again, I like the talent. I like what he's capable of. I think we should go that direction. I think him and K will be a nasty 1-2 combo, and then we're able to slide CP Bay at the 3 so we can get more shooting. Because, Jaden Ivey, from what I've seen, a lot of people compare him to Ja Morant, and that's cool, but I see more like a Victor Oladipo vibe. And he's not really the greatest shooter, you know what I'm saying? And that's cool, but we already have, like, guards that can defend, you know what I'm saying? And guards that are kind of like that. But I obviously wouldn't be mad if we get him because, again, a Jaden Ivey and a K game backcourt would be nasty as well. But give me the shooter, man. Give me, if the ceiling is Bradley Beal type Devin Booker, give me that player all day long.
Yeah, that's the first time that's actually a good comparison that Oladipo. I never thought of that one, but that's Oladipo came out with that athleticism and was around the same size. That's a good comparison. And I would probably say I'm closer to Alonzo you am as far as I would swing for the fences, go with the guy with more upside because, like you said, after the top 4. It falls off, but then again, like you said, he's a guy I've heard mentioned to Sacramento at 4 as well because he's 6'6", and he can play the guard or small forward in today's NBA. You know what I'm saying? So, but like you said, the athleticism, the shot that I've seen that he has, like you said, in the limited amount of tape that you can find, he's hitting his jump shots. Whenever you have that type of athleticism, you have the potential to play defense. It's just a matter of if you want to play defense. The only thing that scares me about him is the thing that scares me about all them cats. He's Canadian, and them cats, they just don't. Most of them, I won't say all of them, but most of them just don't have that dog in them. So I would probably side with you where I want a guy that has a little more upside than maybe a Keegan who I want to see him for obvious reasons be very, very good, but I also realistically don't see his ceiling very, very high. Now, Coach, obviously you have a different take on this. Like I said, we've had the conversation privately and on the podcast. At this moment today, who would you want to see at 5?
Not the sharp kid, and I'm going to tell you why. Detroit has never done well with Kentucky players. Don't act like you forgot the Brandon Knight experience. And that was a tragedy. Okay, don't act like you forgot that, man. Okay.
I was wrong.
Second of all, let me say this about the kid. He's number 1 in that class, right? But he didn't play anywhere. Like once they realized he couldn't get into college and play at the college level, he didn't go overseas. He didn't slide into the G League. And you know what that tells me? His camp is hiding something. They're hiding something in that kid's game. Because when you're number 1 in your class, LeVar Ball showed you, I'll take your ass a little away. I'm going to get you somewhere. You're going to play basketball. You're going to show the world how good you really are. You're going to back up what I've been saying with your play. And they let that kid go to Kentucky. And they let that kid sit there. Okay? He reclasses up to sit out? I don't think so. They're hiding something in this kid's game. And let me tell you something, Am. You can talk about that upside, and that's what people do. But upside will get your ass fired, Am. Because what you're not talking about is where he probably really is. And he's probably going to be more of a J.R. Smith type player once it's all said and done. Stupid athletic, consistent three-point shooter, but maybe doesn't have it between the ears, maybe doesn't lock in defensively. And that ain't what Detroit needs. I'm going to tell you who Detroit should go and take at that 5 pick. Benedict Mathurin, another Canadian who played at Arizona, who's 6'6", plays defense, can shoot the ball. He's got J.R. Richardson written all over him. That's who they should go and get because Detroit needs a guy in the lineup that they can put on the other team's best perimeter players because you can't put Cade on that guy. You can't put Sadiq on that guy. So to go and draft another high-profile rookie that has been told he's been this since he came into this world, that's not going to play out well when you say, okay, guess what, buddy? Your matchup tonight, DeMar DeRozan. He's going to look at you like, nigga, please. I don't want to guard no DeMar DeRozan. You know what I'm saying? That's not who I want to guard. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you need. You have a better chance of taking a kid who played a year at some level, whether it's G League, overseas, whatever, and he's shown you some type of body of work against men. Because when I'm looking at the sharp kid, everything pops out, but he's playing against boys, man. He playing AU against, come on, man. He playing against boys.
Coach, do you, because I like Mathurin, but do you think 5 is a little high for Mathurin?
Who cares? It's where we slid to in the fucking draft. If he, let me
what I'm saying is if that's the target,
5 guy. If that kid come in there and be a 17-5 guy, I don't give a damn.
What I'm saying is if that's the target, do you think you could trade down and get more assets and still get your guy that you want?
No, because once you get past 3, everything after 3 is all the same anyway. From 4 to 30, it's all the fucking same. You're fucking rolling the fucking dice on these motherfuckers. Okay? If you ain't getting Pagalo, Jabari, hell, even Chet's bitch ass, you're rolling the fucking dice anyway. So what difference do it fucking make? It really don't make no difference. If you like the kid, take him at 5. Why trade down to 19, right? And try to add the 7th and 8th pick, and then the kid might be gone. And you get stuck with some bullshit down in the draft.
I feel you. Let me ask y'all both this, because this recently came about that potentially y'all are interested in getting that
trading
Jeremy
Grant for the 7th pick.
Or 7th pick, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Now, if you did that, maybe you can take 7 and 5 and move up into that top tier.
If we do that, if we trade Jeremy Grant to Portland for that pick, you know what that tells me? That tells me, in fact, that Troy Weaver is going to swing the dice on that sharp kid. Because the one thing I know about Troy, when he drafts multiple kids in the draft, he's looking for somebody to pan out because he knows one of them may not, right? So he's looking for multiple. And he did when he took Killian Hayes, and I was against that, and he was able to go and get Sadiq and Isaiah. Sadiq's the one that panned out in the draft, right? You know, because Killian Hayes is not the 7th pick of the draft. I mean, that's just not what he is, right? Like he's got to be gone at some way to somebody else when the time is right. Okay, you know what I mean?
So he's the next Frank.
Frank Tequila. Yeah, that's exactly what he is. That's exactly what he is. Yeah, with less defense and less skill, and that's 2 bad things because he should have those, but he doesn't. Anyways, so I would be really upset if they trade Jeremy for that because I'm gonna tell you right now, and I'm gonna say it on camera, and you can hold me to this. It's recorded. It'll be out there for the world to see. Do not take Sharp if you're Detroit. I'm telling you, he will be closer to J.R. Smith than he will be Bradley Beal or Devin Booker. Like, the signs are there for you, man. Like, anytime you're telling me, oh, he's an extreme athlete, so fucking what? If he's that athletic and not playing defense, then what the fuck is he out there doing? Looking for fast breaks like J.R. Smith was? Looking for fucking idiotic mistakes to be made on the court? Yeah, that's what he's looking for.
What you trying to say? He's Gerald Green?
No, I tell you, I think he's closer to J.R. Smith. I really do. When I look at him, I'm like, the handles, it's okay. But his eyes light up when he can cock it back. His eyes light up when he can shoot the wide open three. But what happens when you got to guard DeMar DeRozan and he's locked in on you in a contract year? He's guarding your bitch ass. What you gonna do then? You think DeMar DeRozan gonna let you just come down the paint and just tomahawk that bitch? Hell no, man. Everybody in the NBA is athletic. They trying to throw your shit in the fucking first row. And a Canadian who didn't play that was number one, that don't make sense to me, right? Like, if this kid is that good and they realized they couldn't get him eligible in NCAA, he should have immediately called the G League, yo, I need a roster spot. What time the game? 6 o'clock? I'll be there at 5 o'clock. I need a roster spot. And the G League would have made room for the kid. Doesn't make sense to be sitting. Listen, when I watched Kentucky all season, I said the Savard Wheeler kid is a disappointment. Ty Washington is off the line with injuries. They needed another star. And you're telling me Colin Parry had this kid that's supposed to be a star and you just sitting him and he's okay with that? Losing to St. Peter's? I'd have dressed that motherfucker at halftime in St. Peter's game. Like, I can't lose these motherfuckers. Get your ass out there, man. Like, it don't make sense to me. It makes no sense to me. They're hiding something in his game. Period. So do not take that motherfucker, Troy Weaver. Don't take that motherfucker. Do not do it. It'll be a disaster in Detroit. And because he's been told how good he is, here's my biggest thing with the Am. And you know how this goes, Am. He's been told for so long that he's the king of the crop, right? We already got that guy in Cade. So you think this motherfucker gonna want to hear, hell, nigga, you got to wait. Because you got to wait after Cade, after Sadiq, and if Jeremy, you after him too.
Well, I mean, no, well, hold on. Talk about
He's not gonna want to hear that shit.
If you take Shaden, they're taking him with the mindset that he's going to come in and be better than Sadiq. They're not taking him to say you're going after Sadiq. Anybody that they take at 5, they have with the mindset that they're going to be better than Sadiq. And I love Sadiq, but Sadiq is not. You need a backcourt star. I guarantee that whoever they take at 5, they have the mindset that this guy, maybe not right now at this moment, but he is going to be better than Sadiq is. There's no doubt about that. And if you aren't taking a guy at 5 who you foresee being better, who you don't foresee being better than Sadiq, you're in a whole fucking world of trouble. A whole world of trouble.
Sadiq plays 3. These other kids play 2. They can play together.
And everybody in the league has been told for that 90% of the people in the league have been told since day one that they're the man. So that's just the natural transition of getting there. Like I said, if you take Keegan, I'm not mad. Like I said, I think he's a good fit. He's at a position of need, especially if you ship out. I'm not even saying take Keegan. I'm saying take Mathurin. Mathurin is the guy. And I like Mathurin too. I do like Mathurin. Like I said, I like Mathurin. And like I said, and if you're holding the emphasis on after them 4, it's a crapshoot to take him at 5. Okay, cool. I've seen Mathurin. I've seen him at 8, 9, 10 to 13s. You know what I'm saying? And if he's in that range, I think if that's what you really like, you might be able to, get more assets and trade down. But you obviously have 2 different. I mean, the position's the same, so you both agree that you need a wing.
We need a 2 guard. He's playing the backcourt.
And you both agree that you need a Canadian.
Shit.
I mean, well, it's not that. I mean, if we're in the
you
top
want a Canadian, and he wants a Canadian. So
if we're in the top 2 or 3, I'm thinking
the consensus is you want a Canadian, whether it's that one or the other one. You want a Canadian on that team.
All I'm saying is where we are in that draft and what we need. I mean, like I said, Am made a great point about I've never been high on Ivy. You know that. He played in the Big Ten, which doesn't allow guards to really flourish because it's such an old school type of conference. That's also one point to think that he might flourish more because he gets in a league that's going to be more catered to his skill set. But the problem with Ivy is because he can't, he's not a sniper. No, you take Ivy, you're taking the ball out of Cade's hands. I don't want to do that, man. I agree. Like I know what I got in Cade. The next Ja Morant, because if Ja Morant don't have the ball in his hands, he ain't shit. So I don't need another guy. I don't need a guy like that in my lineup.
we're gonna move on because you start to throw too much slander. We're gonna go on to the All NBA. Yeah, this is a good transition. We're gonna go to All NBA teams because I got the All NBA teams here. And speaking of John Morant and all these guys, some of these guys are on the All NBA team. So first team, Giannis, Luka, Joker, Booker, Tatum. Any problems with that first team?
Yeah, Embiid should have been on there. Embiid should have been on there. He finished second.
Agreed. But if you vote traditionally, you can only put one center on the list.
Oh
I don't care.
Nothing about the NBA is traditional anymore. It's positional.
I agree.
Basketball.
So then you have to change you have to change the voting. But voting the way it is, you can only put one center.
Right.
So are you not going to put the MVP as first team?
I don't think that it makes sense that you can say we're a positionless league, but then we're holding to positions when it comes to voting. It doesn't make sense. The two need to be concurrent. The two need to be concurrent. I completely agree with you as far as that. But two need to be
concurrent. That's a tough question, though, Nate.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess by default you have to put the MVP and first team, but Embiid should have been on there.
Yeah. See, that's where I thought this year, more than any other year, they should have had co-MVPs.
Right.
You should have did co-MVPs because then if you would have did co-MVP, you give Embiid the accolade of having the MVP, but then it also makes sense that you got him at second team because now the MVP kind of makes up for him being on second team or whichever one you were going to put on second team. But if I'd have voted, I'd have put Embiid on first team and I'd have took Booker off the first team.
Agreed, 100%.
Yep.
Take that crying ass nigga off there.
That's what I'd have done. Second team, Embiid, Ja, KD, Curry, DeMar DeRozan.
I don't have no issues with that. I mean, all those guys played really well. All those guys played really well this season.
Yeah.
Shit, DeMar almost played his way to first team. Shit, the way his season was for a while, that motherfucker was balling.
Yeah. KD on second team, considering how many games you missed, no problem.
I mean, you got to keep your stars happy. It's a stars league.
Okay. Third team, Cat, LeBron, CP3, Trae Young, Pascal Siakam.
I'm happy for Pascal. I'm happy for Pascal because he was looking dicey too. He was looking dicey a year ago. I'm happy for Pascal.
Yeah.
He's bounced back.
He was looking dicey to start the year.
Yeah, well, I mean, last year they played in Tampa, and they had to figure out the kinks and who was coming, who was going. So I'm happy for him. I'm happy. I have no problem with the 13. I have no problem with the 13.
I guess my only issue is with Pascal is one, he was injured at the beginning of the season, so he didn't even come in till damn near January to middle of December type shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so the amount of games that he played versus maybe other players, there's other players that played more. And when he came back, he wasn't really playing as well, but he super turned it up, especially after the All-Star game. You know what I mean? But other than that, no, I don't have no issues with it at all. And if I had to replace somebody with Pascal, I can't think of nobody off the top of my head, so it kind of sounds like some hate. And I didn't mean it to sound like that, so yeah, he deserves it.
If you're looking at forwards in the league, I guess I don't know what they consider Jaylen Brown. Is he a forward or is he a guard? I mean, that would be one guy you might bring up. That's really when I think about it, that's probably Chris Middleton.
No, Brandon Ingram.
Brandon Ingram, he was hurt a little bit. Yeah. That's what I mean. Unless you thought like Evan Mobley or some shit like that, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, I don't really have a problem with. I know a lot of people talk about LeBron. Some people thinking he should have been higher on first team. Some people complain that he shouldn't have made a team at all because they were 15 games under 500, and everybody on the All NBA teams, all their teams made the playoffs. But LeBron this wasn't his best year score. Wasn't his best year scoring this year?
I think it was his best.
I thought he won I thought it was.
Oh, he didn't win the scoring title.
Oh, okay.
Embiid got the scoring title. But
you still had to put Bron on there, man. I mean, what? I mean, a 50-point game he had at 37, 38.
listen,
Like,
I had no
good.
problem with Bron being on 13. I mean, the season he had in year 19, it was
incredible.
It was warranted. Yeah. But to speak on that bullshit you've been talking, man, Josh, second team, Trae Young, third team. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. Trae Young been to Eastern Conference Finals. Josh still ain't.
Keep that in mind.
I hear you.
Bring him to the East. He'll do the same thing.
We'll see.
All right.
So okay. One question before we move on. Speaking of Ja, because as much as I love Ja, why do Memphis turn up more when he's not playing?
Thank you.
They don't. They lost.
Thank you.
They did the same thing without him. They didn't win without him.
But we all know they win more games.
And it's the same thing. Why does Trae Young, if he's that cold, why are they under 500 or 5 games over 500 in the East?
Y'all act like the East is not a good conference. The
East. If you go to the conference finals the year before, and then you win your 4 to 5 games over 500 because you had to play decent basketball in the last 10 games of the season just to get there. That's not. And then you lost, and then you lose in the first round of the playoffs after you just went to a conference finals.
Conference finals aren't guaranteed, Nate. Just so you go the year before, it's not like you get an automatic asterisk to go.
You don't fall to
teams get better.
You don't fall to ninth. You don't go to the conference finals and fall to 9th place in the conference, Cole.
Okay, all right.
That's not supposed to happen.
I mean, you say that, but they're not guaranteed on your schedule. Oh, you went the year before, we're going to shoot you into the next one.
You're supposed to progress or maintain this. I mean, you're supposed to progress or get better or be in that same, hover around that same mark, especially from the year before. I'm going to say if it was 3 years, 4 years later, but you're the year after with the same squad and you go from conference finals to 9th place.
The other teams make adjustments, man.
Okay. Anyway, and we ask every guest on the podcast if they could change one moment in sports history, what moment would they change? What would be yours?
You know, I thought about this question for a while, and at first the obvious answer was going to be, Grant Hill, because I always wanted to see him flourish and be the best, Grant Hill that he could be. But as I get older, I really value dynasties and watching players get championships. So as much as I hate this team and how much I despise one particular player during that era, I would have not liked to see Shaq get traded. I would have liked to see exactly what Kobe and Shaq and them damn Lakers. I want to see what their run would have been like if they would have never broke that team up. If they would have been able to just push them damn Eagles to the side and be like, you know what? Let's go for that 6. Let's go for that 7. Let's see if we can top these damn Bulls. You know what I'm saying? Because and my mindset is different. If you would ask me this question a couple of years ago, I would have had a different answer, of course. But as I get older, I just like watching dynasties because how often do we get to watch an actual dynasty of any sport? It's not too often. So I want to be able to watch as many superstars get as many rings as humanly possible. In the 90s, we got Jordan. And I was 10? All 10 between, I was born in 86, so the Jordan era, I was probably between 8 and probably 13-ish type shit. You know what I'm saying? But I'm a grown man now. So even watching LeBron get his rings, watch Steph Curry get his rings, I love watching that shit. And I might not even like the player itself, like I'm not the biggest Steph Curry fan, but I can appreciate the greatness. I just want to be able to watch greatness be as great as they possibly can. And we could have known, and we were kind of just broken from what could have been from that Laker franchise. We would have seen a fully egoless Shaq and an egoless Kobe. Because if Kobe was able to do what he did with Pau Gasol, I mean, shit, and we've seen what they could do already. How much better could they have been? You know what I'm saying? And so I would have loved to watch that, even though at the time I would have hated because it's the damn Lakers. I hate the Lakers with the passion, not so much now, but back then. But looking at it now, I would have loved to see something like that. I would have loved to see something like that. But they did what they did. They both went on and had great careers, and I'm glad that, everything happened for how it happened, but I would have loved to see the Lakers actually stick together. You know what I'm saying? I would have loved to see that shit. I would have really loved to see that.
That's interesting you say that, considering the championship you won was at their demise.
We broke their team up.
It's crazy, right? Mm-hmm. I would have loved to seen it though. Looking back, I would have loved to seen it. Like I said, they could end up being like 7, 8 rings deep almost, and then all of a sudden, and plus I love Shaq. Pause. So Shaq's always his biggest thing has always been, oh, he doesn't work hard enough, blah blah blah. But he's always been the most dominant player ever. What you said earlier, I fully disagree. I feel like if you put Shaq in today's league, that motherfucker been averaging 40 and 50 because he's just too goddamn big. You're talking about putting people off the block, blah, 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 blah. Good luck trying to get his ass off the goddamn.
What does Giannis do? Giannis is a modern day Shaq. That's what he is. Giannis sticks to what he knows and what he can do, adverse to what he can't do. He'll pull them jumpers every once in a while, but 9 times out of 10, you know exactly what Giannis is going to do, and you can't stop it. And that's all Shaq was his whole fucking career. He is a modern day Shaq. There's a little more emphasis on what he can do as far as handle the ball, but Orlando Shaq, if you've got Orlando Shaq in today's NBA, where he's running the floor fast as hell,
man, right?
Yeah, Shaq is gonna put in work in today's NBA, in my opinion. Now, Lakers Shaq, that's a different Shaq. That's a big ass nigga that was just give me the ball and I'm gonna turn around and dunk on you, and there's not a fucking thing.
Nothing thing.
You know what I'm saying? So if you have that Shaq, I agree. But if you got Orlando Shaq where he was, 280, 290-ish, when he was lean, yeah, that Shaq is a problem in my estimation. That's interesting. Yeah, I think I don't know if they'd have got no 7. I think they could have got 5. They maybe could have got 5 because at the same time, you look at the year after he goes to Miami, and then that also he has to give up he willingly gives up the reins to Wade and averages 20. But you can see we can agree there was a little decline that year after. Shaq wasn't the same Shaq that he had been when they won them 3. So I want, like I said, I think they could have got 5, but I don't know about no 7 or 8. But they definitely would have been back competing that next year. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely, exactly.
Yeah, and you had, that year, wasn't that the Karl Malone, Gary Payton Lakers y'all beat?
Yep. Phil Jackson, Karl Malone, Gary Payton, Shaq, Kobe, Derek Fisher. Fuck them niggas.
Yeah, old ass niggas. Old ass bum ass niggas.
You had the power to bring back Grant Hill, and you brought back the fucking Shaq and Kobe.
I don't understand this.
I'll never get that either. Fuck
flabbergasted.
Yeah, because I already know what mine would be. And
Derrick Rose.
100%. There's nothing else that's happening other than that. Nothing else. That is the one thing. Maybe the 2000 when the Bears went to the Super Bowl against the goddamn Colts. That might be one, but there's nothing close than D Rose. Never happens.
I feel like shit. Who's to say if Grant Hill was to stay healthy, he was going to be a Detroit Piston his whole career?
Probably not. We seem to fumble the bag a lot.
Yeah, because
so
we fumbled.
I mean, Orlando.
That's what we do.
I hope we don't
fumble the bag this year. But shit, even if you look at, oh my God, even if you look at the draft between 2010 and probably 2020, I think we might be second or third worst draftees. I can't think of a solid, be like, yeah, we got him. Like a solid draft year. Because even if you think about the one thing that we was good at was getting second rounders, right? But we always let our second rounders go, whether it's like Chris Middleton, Spencer Dinwiddie, etc. We let them go. But our first rounders, we always get bums like Brandon Knight and Austin Day and Rodney Stuckey, which I don't know if
Henry Ellis.
You know what I'm
Jimmy
saying?
Emerson.
Like this. Yeah, boom. You know what I'm saying? Then Sekou doing Boya. You know what I mean? Like the list goes on and on, bro. Like I can't think of a franchise that has been drafting as bad as the Pistons, but I was so glad the day that we got Troy Weaver because he came from Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Thunder's draft record has been fucking phenomenal because he was the one that came up on Kevin Durant and James Harden, Reggie Jackson, Russ. You know what I'm saying? Like
Serge Ibaka.
Right, exactly. So he was the mastermind behind all that.
Also, I want to say too, what people don't give them credit for, they drafted Sabonis. They had Sabonis.
Yeah, yep.
They had Sabonis. Exactly. They traded him in that Paul George trade.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love.
And I was also saying to Coach, I said, you guys have also been put in that no man's land area because the Bulls have been there a lot too, where when you're drafted in that 7 to 13 range, it's hard to find them change the fucking franchise guys. You more often than not, you're getting rotation guys. Like, what I'm saying? Like we drafted like 7 3 years in a row, and it went from Lowry to Wendell to Kobe White. All 3 years, 7 in a row. You know what I'm saying? None of them cats are all-stars. You know what I'm saying? They're rotational guys. I mean, the best we did at like 7 was like Lou. You know what I'm saying? And Lou was, he was an all-star maybe once. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, Steph Curry was a 7 pick, but you know what I'm saying? Like that's how few far in between you catch a guy that's going to change your fucking life versus you got a guy that's going to be a starter for, 8 to 10 years. So that's a tough spot to draft for because y'all, like I said, up until last year, you wasn't getting no top 3, 5 picks. It was all 7, 8, 9s and shit. So that's a hard spot to draft that. So, but hey, Am, I want to thank you for coming on, brother. It's been too long. Like I said, we're glad we get you on. We have to get you on again, talk about your Eagles.
Yes, sir. Anytime.
During football season.
I know we looking like Super Bowl champions. I know you've seen that all season. We over here signing everybody.
I don't know
what the hell this is about. Yeah, I don't know what the hell that's about.
Hey, listen, I agree with you. Coach Taylor can make all the faces he want to. Y'all did a lot of shit in the offseason, so you definitely got some hype going into this year. But we're gonna end this episode of the Real Sports Podcast. Again, appreciate y'all coming. Follow us on all the networks, YouTube, TikTok. Got the TikTok up now. Coach Taylor, you got any betting advice?
Yeah, don't bet. This has been a horrible postseason. Just don't bet. And on a serious note, I want to give sincere condolences to all those families.
Yes.
And thoughts and kids and parents and prayers down there in Texas. The world is turning crazy. Parents, just be smart. If you have any concerns or doubts about your school, there's nothing wrong with homeschooling your kid. Because as a parent, I expect to send my child to school in a safe environment and get them back, you know what I mean, in one piece and not have to go through any craziness like this. But the world has changed so much. There's nothing wrong with homeschooling. But once again, prayers and condolences go out to the families that were affected directly or indirectly by that massacre down there in Texas and the one that happened in Buffalo as well.
Yeah, 100%. All right, y'all. We appreciate y'all coming through. Peace.
Peace.
Yes, sir.